What is up, guys? Got the request to do the iPhone X versus the Pixel 3 XL. So both of these phones are around 400 bucks, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the iPhone, being a flagship when it first came out, still has that flagship hardware. It's got a glass and metal design. It's IP67 dust and water resistant. On the 3XL, you have a plastic design, but it still feels pretty good in the hand. They did a good job not making it feel super cheap. But the iPhone definitely has the overall more premium feeling hardware. Most definitely, you really cannot beat glass and metal. So on these phones, you have pretty cool button layout on the Pixel 3 XL. Actually, it's got like a little orange accent, which I think is really cool. You got the fingerprint scanner on the back of the XL, and on the iPhone, of course, you only have Face ID. Dual camera setup on the iPhone, which we will get into, and one single firing camera. So I think both of these phones are very nice looking. Now, when you turn it over to the front, you're greeted by a 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display. On the iPhone X, it's 1125 by 2436, 458 for the PPI, and it gets pretty bright. It's 120 Hz touch, so it's a pretty nice and bright, smooth display. Has some deep blacks, just great colors, and overall great panel. Now, you do have an OLED display on the 3XL. It's a 6-inch display, so slightly bigger. It's a 1080p display, and you have 402 for the PPI. So they're both excellent displays. You have the slightly higher resolution on the Pixel, but overall, I think the iPhone display just looks a little bit better to me. Definitely with the higher PPI as well, I can definitely see the difference. And overall, the notch on the iPhone, I'm not a huge fan of, so I do prefer the Pixel's no notch design, even though it's got these huge bezels. But overall, the displays on both of these phones are pretty good. Now, both these phones are running the latest versions of their operating system. Both of these phones will be getting the latest version, as in iOS 14 and Android 11. So that is really awesome. And I found both these phones to be smooth. The iPhone slightly smoother, but even with the iPhone X, I still get like little glitches and frame rate drops here and there, even when just bouncing out of apps. And that's the same thing on this phone. So both of them are relatively smooth, but they're not going to be smooth 24/7 all of the time. So I will say that the iPhone is definitely the faster device here. As you can see, the Snapdragon 670 on the Pixel 3a is fine. It's not a terrible chip, but it's definitely not the fastest with the Adreno 615. I found gaming to be just fine on here. I didn't really have a bunch of lag issues with this phone, as well as the Apple 11 chip is definitely excellent for gaming still. On the iPhone, you have 3 gigs of RAM, no external storage, 64 gigs of storage, and it's the same thing on the Pixel, no expandable storage, and you have 64 gigs of internal storage with 4 gigs of RAM. So as far as like speed and multitasking, I think the iPhone is just slightly better. It's definitely faster, and iOS handles multitasking better even with that 3 gigs of RAM. So let's go ahead and check out these speakers, because they are pretty good on both these phones, so I'll let you hear them for yourself. All right, we're gonna go ahead and check out the dual speakers on both of these guys, starting with the Pixel at max volume. Yeah, so the Pixel is just slightly louder and just has a little bit more clarity to the sound, but they're both very loud and sound very good, so you can't go wrong with either. Now, both these phones have NFC as well, so for mobile payments, you will be able to do that on both of these guys. You do not have a headphone jack on the iPhone X. If I forgot to mention that, you do have that on the Pixel. So let's go ahead and talk about the cameras. I was really impressed with the cameras on the Pixel 3 AXL. They were really great, and I actually preferred the photos on here than the iPhone X. So on the iPhone X, you have a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel telephoto, 4K, shoots in 24, 30, or 60 FPS. You have a front-facing camera that's a 7 megapixel, shoots in 1080p. On the Pixel, you just have a single camera. It's a 12.2 megapixel camera, shoots in 4K. the selfie camera is an 8 megapixel, and yeah, I just preferred the pixel in these comparison shots. Just the color was better, and there's definitely more detail with the pixel photos. So yeah, dynamic range is just overall better on the pixel, I found, and just overall color accuracy is really on point, as you can see here. The iPhone kind of washed out a little bit, and overall the sharpness just wasn't there on the iPhone X. So definitely, if you're deciding between the two of these phones, definitely the Pixel 3a XL is definitely the way to go with the camera. It is very, very impressive for still photos, and you have the night sight mode as well, which does a really good job too over the iPhone X. So let's talk about getting into the phone. You have two options on the Pixel: the physical fingerprint scanner, which is very fast, or the Face ID, or the the Face Unlock on Androids. Now this one is not as secure as the Face ID on the iPhone, of course, but you do have that choice. On the iPhone, you only have the Face ID, and it works great. So getting into the phone on both of these phones is very fast and very fluent, so no real issue there. So onto battery life, on the iPhone you have a 2716 milliamp battery with 15-watt fast charging and wireless charging as well. I find myself being able to get through the day on this phone actually no problem. Now if you're doing super heavy gaming, then you may not be able to, but just for scrolling and going through social media apps, videos, this phone is definitely fine. You should get around 6 hours of screen on time, and I'm finding that to be true with the Pixel as well. So you have a 3700 milliamp battery, 18-watt fast charging, but no wireless charging as well. But with this phone as well, you're getting around 6 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time. And I was asked to do a battery drain test, and I will definitely do one. So that's pretty much it. Very two impressive older phones. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.